The person with the most love wins because love is invincible. Love cannot die. Maybe you've heard spiritual teachers say, your true self can't die. You are formless and you are consciousness and it goes on forever. It's true. So I'm not going to lie to you, man, it's true. So, you know, you've heard maybe as well that energy cannot die, it can only be transformed. So it's sort of like that. Your essence can't die. Okay, your body can die, your ego can die, and obviously you can do that whilst you're alive with the ego not being there as much. But your essence, your consciousness, yourself as your true self, right? Your God self, it can't actually die. Now, talking about being invincible because you're the most loving, literally just refer to an experience where you have been loving to someone and notice how you don't feel that kind of the same egoic fear. For example, man, if I am able to help someone out, and let's say that's in a social setting, so let's say, I don't know, I'm able to have a cool, chill conversation with someone who's homeless, which is a nice thing to do sometimes. In that moment, what's interesting is I don't feel the same kind of social anxiety. It's like my world is just, this person right now. Now in that moment, I want you to notice that if you're speaking to someone on the street, for example, notice how you don't really feel the same level of anxiety. Part of you has kind of surrendered there. Part of you is being loving. And as you be loving, notice what happens. You feel less anxiety. And as you feel less anxiety, man, you feel more invincible. And what's funny, man, is like feeling invincible is to feel yourself. Absolutely. So yourself with a capital Y. If some dude is on coke and he's like, I feel invincible, I feel like myself. It's because he doesn't feel any fear. And I'm not saying he feels like existential love or metaphysical love like we're saying, but at the very least, he's not feeling that egoic fear. Another reason is this. So the only thing in the universe, on a metaphysical level, the only thing is love and or consciousness. So metaphysically, the only thing is love, right? When we become that, or when we become more of that, we become more at one with truth. So if you imagine that the nature of reality, the very, very nature of reality, the fabric of reality is love, if we are more of what is, if we are more of what is true, and I know this sounds very metaphysical and abstract, but if we are more of what is metaphysically true, there's no like jagged edges of ego. We're just this smooth, beautiful life force, which is consciousness, right? We are love. Love, interestingly, man, is kind of like a ball of white light because it's formless. Whereas, if we think about ego, man, we can already think, okay, ego is formed, ego is finite, ego is self-protective, like it's going to protect itself, so it might have like a shield, if you can imagine an ego with a shield. Whereas if we're this ball of white light, man, and which is to say we are love, there's nowhere else to go. You made it. That's what really making it means. It means to awaken. Another reason that the person with the most love wins is because the person who is most loving or has the most love, they are the least vulnerable. So interestingly, the only thing that's vulnerable about you is your ego, which might feel like it's the entire part of you, man. It's actually not. It's actually the illusory part of you, right? So I know it feels very, very, very real, but interestingly, what's behind your ego is this field of love. And this, because it doesn't have an ego, because it's just one, it doesn't need to protect itself. The game of survival only applies to ego because, like the ego, it's a finite thing, meaning it's not infinite, right? When it's finite, like there's a need to protect the thing because it can perish. Whereas when it's infinite, man, like it can't die. There's nowhere for it to go. There's no one for it to compete with or fight against. When you are love, you're invulnerable. So the person with the most love wins because they're not playing the same game as everyone. They're doing this different thing or this different game where they're being selfless. To the ego, that's like, why would I be selfless? Actually, I should get as much as I can possibly get and make my life as solid and secure as possible. That's what the ego says. But the whole point of spirituality is to see that, is to go meta, is to see that doesn't work, man. That doesn't work. You've got to try something else. You've got to play a different game, right? And the person with the most love, they win because they're not even like playing that game, dude. They're literally like, they've already won it because they've surrendered it. And I'm not suggesting you have to surrender, you know, your entire ego and everything you own, dude. No, of course not, man. You live in the world, right? What I am saying though, is that internally, you can drop a lot of your ego and you can embody a lot of love. And from that place, you're not going to be constrained by the same kind of self-survival pressures. So self-survival is the ego survival. It's the small self, the ego self, and it's trying to survive. When you're not clinging to this self as much, and when you're deliberately embodying love, you won't feel as much of a anxiety or stress, because just within you, man, you're just not clinging to survival. Okay, that's what everyone is doing always. We're all just clinging to survival. If you were even to just for 5 minutes today, man, sit down and say, you know what, I'm just going to let myself be, which is to kind of say I'm going to let myself die for 5 minutes. Obviously, that's on a sort of metaphorical, spiritual level, not physically. You give yourself a break from your ego, which is the only thing that you really want. If I ever take time off these days, man, the single thing that I'm doing is I'm taking a break from my ego. I'm deliberately sitting, doing not much, and resting my soul and taking a break from my ego. Finally, dude, the person with the most love wins because on the deepest level, to be loving is the only thing that you're really here to do. So again, going very meta, what you're here to do is to live your life, of course, but it's to see through the illusion and to see into the nature of reality, which is this love, and then it's to be that. So it's to embody the love. So the person with the most love wins because, you know, they've got that. Now, of course, final nuance on that is, dude, you know, there's a lot of different perspectives that we can take around why you are here, and we can explore that more in the future, but this is one that won't be going away. So this is one that will always be there. And it will probably be the deepest one that we do go to because it's the truest one. So remember that you are here to be loving. Being loving is the highest work that you can do. My challenge for you is this: try and be the most loving person in your life. And notice that as you are the most loving person in your life, on some level, you are winning the most. Now, of course, you're not competing against others. You're not trying to show everyone that you're the most loving person. You're trying to be it, right? So you want to demonstrate, and you want to do that through your actions and through the way that you're being and through the way that you're loving people. And notice the fulfillment that this gives you. Notice how it feels better than anything, right? The ego doesn't want to admit this, but actually being loving to others as opposed to being selfish actually feels even better. But, you know, you didn't hear that from me, dude. Okay, man, we'll call it there. If you want any support at all from me, one-to-one, I do offer coaching and mentoring. If you're interested in that, you can check out the link in the description. Otherwise, man, take care, and as always, my friend, peace.